The Discovery, Chapter 18, Part 3. Celestia's attention was pulled from her sister when she saw Dr. Stable return to the door with several pieces of paper attached to a clipboard in his magical grasp. He entered the room slowly, so as to not startle any pony.
Doctor?
Celestia said, her voice only a whisper. I have the results, Your Highness. Would you like me to announce them to every pony, or just you? Dr. Stable replied.
Please tell us all.
Celestia replied. All right, Dr. Stable said, making his way to the center of the room. I'm sorry to interfere, but I have his test results, he said, directing everyone's attention back at him. I'm not sure how or why, but somehow equestrian magic is killing him. Midnight visibly fell to her haunches. She felt the air leave her lungs and her stomach violently twisted at the doctor's words. Dr. Stable levitated an X-ray out of the clipboard and attached it to a light tablet. As you can see in the X-ray, there's a white mass surrounding his brain. We saw it when we drilled into his skull, and the MRI just confirmed it. The magic in his head is killing him. The room fell deathly silent, save for the constant beeping of the heart monitor. Both of the royal sisters appeared to be stunned, and the three smaller mares in the room shared similar expressions of breathlessness.
But how? Luna found no magical damage in his subconscious. He's been completely fine for the last 4 months, hasn't he, Midnight?
Twilight asked, finally breaking out of her silence. But Midnight didn't answer. She just stared at the floor like a shell-shocked soldier. Her mane limply hung over her face, hiding her expression. After realizing Midnight would not be commenting anytime soon, Twilight refocused her attention on the doctor. Princess Luna, is that true? The doctor asked, somewhat intrigued.
Well, yes, although I only searched a small part of his memories. To search the rest of his mind would have taken... well, I would probably still be doing it right now.
Luna explained, her gaze casting downwards in shame. I believe I might have an explanation for you then, Princess, Dr. Stable said, turning to Twilight. From what I understand of his physiology, he has no magical ability whatsoever. His species exists on a planet with absolutely no magic to speak of. Due to this, his species didn't evolve with magic influencing their bodies. It's a very real possibility that when he arrived here, his body immediately began to negatively react to magic.
Like the headaches.
Midnight finally spoke, drawing every pony's eyes. Considering that the magic coalesced in and around his brain, headaches are a very possible symptom. According to the MRI, it primarily formed around the brain, on the meninges. A small amount also found its way into the temporal lobe. This could have affected his memory, speech, behavior, hearing, and vision.
All those times I thought he was just forgetful. Damn it.
Midnight whispered.
But wait, that still doesn't explain the last 4 months. He's had no real issues like he did on Heartswarming, so how could it have stopped hurting him for 4 months?
Twilight interjected. Again, I think I can explain. More of the magic is formed in his meninges surrounding the brain. As you might know, the brain itself has no pain receptors. The meninges and spinal cord do. The magic found its way on and around the meninges and has, for the last 4 months, been blocking any kind of pain signals from being sensed to his brain. If they hadn't, he most likely would have been in agony for the last 4 months. An uncomfortable silence filled the air as the doctor finished his explanation. No pony in the room dared make a sound, though. They all found their eyes slowly drifting towards Midnight as she sat on her haunches.
All this time this was happening and I did nothing. Why didn't I take him to the doctor?
Midnight screamed in her head.
So, can you remove it?
Celestia asked, her voice slightly strained. Dr. Stable didn't respond for some time. His gaze fell to the floor for a moment, and when he looked back at Celestia, his eyes carried a hint of remorse for the first time since she had started speaking to him. Princess, I'm afraid that even if we had the time to go into his skull and physically remove all of the magic that he's absorbed, it won't save him, Dr. Stable began. That was all Midnight needed to hear. The dam broke and her tears fell free yet again. Everything around her seemed to blur and fade. All she knew was that she felt sick, beyond sick. She immediately rose to her hooves and galloped out the door.
Midnight!
Storm called out, but Midnight was already out the door and running down the hallway. Storm wasted no time and ran after her.
Midnight Storm!
Twilight shouted, turning to follow them.
Let them go, Twilight. Storm will take care of Midnight. Besides, she needs some room right now.
Celestia said, holding out a wing to block the door.
Okay.
Twilight dejectedly agreed. I'm very sorry. I know this is not the news you wanted to hear. No pony ever wants to hear news like this. But there's just no way to prevent the magic from coalescing in his brain again after we remove it. Not to mention... Dr. Stable tried to continue, but Twilight interrupted.
Wait, what did you just say?
Twilight asked, suddenly perking up. That there's no way to prevent the magic from coalescing back in his brain if we even manage to remove it at all, he said, slightly taken aback by Twilight's sudden shift in energy.
That's it! How did I forget about that spell?
Twilight shouted.
What spell, Twilight?
Luna asked, finding herself slightly excited at Twilight's change in demeanor.
The Transfiguration spell!
Midnight barged into the bathroom and found the first open stall she could. She barely made it to the toilet before she threw up. Storm was only a few seconds behind her, recoiling slightly at the sound. She stayed out of the stall to give Midnight some privacy while she got it out of her system. After a few moments, she was done, and the sound of her ragged breathing filled the air. Midnight flushed the toilet and stumbled out of the stall. She almost fell over before Storm was there to catch her.
Whoa, easy, easy. Are you alright?
Storm asked in concern.
I can't just breathe.
Midnight whispered between heavy breaths.
Hey, listen to me. It's gonna be okay, it's gonna be alright. The princesses will figure something out, I promise.
Storm said, wrapping Midnight up in a tight hug.
I can't lose him too. Not again.
Midnight said, her voice nearly choked by her sobs.
Shh, just calm down. You won't lose him. You have my word. David is going to make it through this.
Midnight didn't respond. She continued to quietly sob in Storm's embrace until there were no more tears left to shed. After some time, Storm walked Midnight back through the hallway to David's room. The graphite mare numbly leaned on her for support, as her own hooves seemed barely capable of moving on their own. They unceremoniously arrived to find Luna sitting next to David. The room was otherwise devoid of life.
Princess Luna?
Storm asked, drawing Luna's attention from David.
Storm, Midnight, please come in.
Luna said, with her best attempt at a comforting smile.
Sorry about that.
Midnight said, her eyes still downcast.
It's perfectly fine, Midnight. Are you feeling any better?
Luna asked, already sure of the answer.
No, not really. How long?
Midnight dejectedly asked.
How long? For what?
Luna asked, already uncomfortable with this line of questioning.
Until we lose him.
Midnight said, putting an especially sour tone on lose.
Midnight, there's no reason.
Luna started, but Midnight interrupted her.
Princess, please, I need to know.
Luna hesitated for a few moments before she heavily sighed.
Dr. Stable said that in David's current state, it's only a matter of hours. It might take an entire day, or he might be gone by the time the sun sets. Nothing is certain right now.
Luna sadly explained. Midnight visibly tensed at the news, but managed to keep herself from throwing up again. She managed a shaky nod before hanging her head low. Storm looked devastated for a moment before she noticed that there was only one alicorn in the room at the moment.
Excuse me, Princess, where did Princess Celestia and Twilight go? Well, I was going to open up with that, but I didn't want to get your hopes up as it is still uncertain. However, Twilight remembered a particular spell she thinks might help David and possibly save his life. She teleported herself and my sister to the castle to recover the scroll. She didn't even wait for the doctor to finish his explanation.
Both Midnight and Storm visibly perked up at the news. Midnight stopped leaning on Storm and rose to her full height again.
What spell?
Storm asked, excitement clear in her voice.
I'm not entirely sure. All Twilight said was that it was a transfiguration spell. I assume we'll all find out once they return. Midnight, are you alright? I know that was a lot to take in, especially all at once.
Luna explained.
If Princess Twilight is referring to the spell I remembered, then I'm not sure.
Midnight said, feeling her stomach twist again.
What do you...
Luna started before being abruptly cut off by a loud pop and a bright flash.
And the base elements of his biological composition...
Twilight was still in conversation, but stopped upon noticing the new environment.
Oh, thank you, Princess. I didn't realize you were going to teleport us already. I felt it pertinent that we return in time to explain this to Midnight. Speaking of which, it appears Luna has beaten us to it.
Celestia replied, turning her gaze to Midnight.
This is the part where you convinced me this is the only way that we can save him, isn't it?
Midnight asked, her frown conveying exactly how she was feeling about the current turn of events. Hey, finally it's the time where he turns into a pony, I think. But let's get on to our healthy donators. Top donators: Jesse Smith, Star630, Badass Wolf, Only One Thing, Sir Ryan and Calidus, Matchback, Chuck, TF, Lucio, Darkside, Raiden, Norris, Black Mirror, Pastel, Sky, Sauce, and Rollin, Sorpether, Mordred, Omicron, Lyra, Runesight, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Rysel, Shadow Moon, Luigi, Chancer Crust, Big Smoke, Popcat, Mirror Princess, Jet, Little Mighty, Solar Symphony, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.